Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night. We have our superstar producer, engineer, Hobby Darkstar in the shadows. And, of course, our man in Temecula, California. Mr. Personality.
Swinging.
Swinging Temecula, California. I'm sorry. Mr. J. Brannan.
How are you, everybody? Peace.
So,
peace and love. Peace and love.
Thanks, Ringo.
Thank you.
We have two topics tonight. We're going to talk about DJs asking questions. I've got some things I wanted to talk about that happened today I thought might be relevant. Halfway through the show, the half-hour mark, we're going to switch over and we're going to talk lighting at outdoor events.
It's important.
Which is Jay's topic tonight.
Yep. We're outside. We got to do lighting. Let's change it up.
We'll just jump right into it. You know, I haven't been around DJs in a long time, you know.
Not in person.
No, but Midwest DJs Live is happening like 3 miles that way, or it was. It just ended today. And I didn't attend, but I did hang out with the likes of Nick Hahn.
Awesome guy.
And KC and company, Toad.
Oh, I like Toad.
A lot of dudes. We went to dinner. We went to a spinoff that Big Ron put on. We had tacos. We went to a bar last night. We've been having fun the last 2 nights.
That sounds awesome.
Even had the guys down in the cave for a minute. We got some pictures to show you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, everybody came over. Just for a photo op.
That works.
But yesterday morning, I did a video on this. I got a message from a DJ who told me that sometimes at their events, people request the electric slide. And he plays a song called The Electric Slide by, I don't even know who they are.
Not Marsha, not the right song.
And people tell him he's playing the wrong song and they don't dance.
Yep.
So I said, well, you probably want to play Electric Boogie by Marcia Griffiths.
I say Marsha, you say Marcia. Same thing.
Yeah.
I was there. I was close. You got to admit.
It might be, but I put the
Marcia. Yeah.
Latino thing on
you're
it.
Latin. I'm not. So that's the whole thing. I get it.
Anyway, he was like, yeah, that sounds a lot better. I sent him a link to
it's electric. Do, 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 do.
Now, a lot of people will argue every DJ should know that. Okay. But I'm going to argue that every DJ doesn't have the ability to put their ego aside for a minute to ask a question when they don't know the answer.
Totally true.
So I really respect this DJ for reaching out to me on this, because I feel like a lot of DJs wouldn't even bother. They would just assume or guess or whatever. Even if it was the wrong answer, they wouldn't dare tell me that they didn't know, which is ridiculous. And I noticed it a couple times at these after hours events at Midwest. Most everybody I talked to, just a couple. I talked to a lot of people. They really wanted to tell me things. And I'm listening politely, but I'm thinking to myself, this isn't right. They're wrong on this. And that's not exactly the way it is, and whatever. But they wouldn't even be open probably for me to correct them or talk to them or maybe help them out a little bit, because their ego is just in the way. They're too proud. They don't like flex their muscles with me, and I think that's ridiculous. I mean, it's.
Don't you think that's standard? Don't you think we always want to show? It's like if you say to somebody, "Oh, you're a DJ." Yeah, I'm a DJ. What do you use? Like we have this qualifying order of, you know, if I met you cold on the street and it was like, you know, we all meet up and it's like, oh, what do you do for? I'm a DJ. Oh, no way, Brian's a DJ. Oh, you are? Now it begins. Now in our head we have those 5 or 6 things. Where, what kind, what do you use?
Right.
What do you play? How long? There are qualifiers in our head. And I think, to be kind, and this is where I had to interrupt, with you, you're such a top level kind of, go-to guy for knowledge, that I think you bring fear to the conversation a little bit,
Right.
where people are like, I better tell Brian, like, I'm good because it's Brian Red. So I want to, but I also think that's true with everyone. I did a wedding this past Saturday, and a guy came up and asked me, he goes, how much do you have on that hard drive? I said, for space or songs? He goes, both. I'm just curious. I said, oh, it's a 1 terabyte. I think I have 800 gigs on it. He goes, oh, no way. That's awesome. I said, yeah, I love it. It's a Evo T5. It's Samsung. I picked it up. It's solid state. He goes, no, dude, that's awesome. He goes, I'm a DJ. I'm like, oh, no way. Without missing it. Now, granted, I'm spinning at the wedding during cocktail. He's a guest with his girlfriend. And I still did what I consider to be the typical DJ response. I'm like, oh, no way. Like, what do you play, or where do you play? He's like, to me, I do private parties. I don't do a lot of weddings. I'm like, what do you use? Like, I interjected, what do you use? He's like, I have an S9. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, do you use turntables? He's like, yeah. Oh, do you use phase? He's like, I love phase. I love it. It's really changed the game. So in my head, I'm like, okay, the gentleman in front of me can scratch because he's using phase, which, for those of you that don't know, it's a little rectangle, goes on the spindle on your turntable, and it's a USB-driven device that then reads everything in motion. So if you picked up your vinyl and went like this, it would scratch in Serato.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. But he qualified himself as a DJ by using the S9 phase on turntables. He might be good, bad, or indifferent. I didn't say he was good. I just said he qualified himself to, in my opinion, as, okay, he's legitimately a DJ.
The only point I'm trying to make on this whole thing is, the conversation you're having with this guy, that's one thing. But ultimately, if this DJ didn't know something or was just trying to impress you and didn't really have what they said they had or whatever, what purpose does that serve other to impress you? It doesn't make that person a better DJ, and it certainly doesn't help their clients out.
No.
So if you have a legit question, I think it's important to ask it. Swallow your pride and ask the question.
That's way past being a DJ. You're getting into human.
Well, I didn't
characteristics.
I didn't do this video, but something happened to me today where I was asking a lot of questions. And I want to talk about this a little bit, if you don't mind.
Please.
So, for a long time, and I think we've had this conversation, I had this agent, and she had this way of bamboozling me that got to the point where it really messed up our business relations, because I started telling her no. She would pull this on me. She would say, hey, Brian, I've got this date that I needed to book. Can you do it? Yeah, I can do that date. Great. I'll get back to you with the details. So then she gets back to you an hour or two later, or maybe the next day. Yeah, about that date. It's great. You're really helping me out. I really appreciate you doing this. You're taking more for the team because there's not a lot of money involved, and it's 6 hours and you got flaming hoops. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
Time out.
And she says, you'd really be doing me a big favor. And, I'll take care of you. If you do this for me now, I'll make sure I make it up to you next time. And she never makes it up to you, right?
Pay your bills with exposure, Brian. That's what I do.
Exactly. So I would end
My bank loves exposure bills.
I would end up losing money by doing these events for her. But I was helping her out and taking one for the team, waiting for the win to come, the home run to happen.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it's just ridiculous. She's still collecting her commission as an agent, but I'm losing money.
Yeah.
So I, started telling her no. Or when she would say, hey, I got this event. Are you booked for it? Well, what is it? Well, it's a wedding. Okay, where is it? And then she would just have to kind of backpedal or dismiss me and go on to somebody else because she knew I wasn't going to deal with it. So she stopped dealing with me. And, it's not that I didn't like her, and it's not like she never helped me out, but it was just ridiculous, the amount of that stuff that I get hit with. So the reason I'm telling you this story is because I kind of have agency PTSD because of this woman. So I'm really cautious. I've got another agent now, and he's great. I trust this guy. He's super cool. And he knows that he can catch me like on text and in Messenger and whatever. So the other day I get a message from him that says, "Hey, are you available on this date in May?" Like, well, yeah, if it's open on the calendar, I'm available. What's up? It's like, I got one. So let me work on it and I'll get back to you. I'm like, all right, cool. So he gets back to me today and he says, look, without getting specific about things, just so you know, it's not this much money. It's this much money. Is that cool? I'm like, well, it kind of depends on what it is. It's like, it's a dance. Okay, is it for a school or? Yeah, it's for a school.
Kids, adults?
Right, it's for a school. Like, where? And he tells me, Waukesha. Well, Waukesha is where Stevie's mom lives. I used to live there. Yeah. And I know Waukesha has 3 public schools. I know they have 1 Catholic high school that you really have to be careful with your playlist there. They're funny about that stuff. I need to know which school it is. And I need to know if I'm playing for, 1,000 kids, because if that's the case, I got to bring more sound reinforcement. And if I got to do that, I got to bring an assistant. And maybe I can't do it for that price.
True.
I need more information. What school is it? How many kids? What's the venue? What are the times? These are all things that I need to know logistically before I can decide whether this price is economically viable for me to even do.
Exactly.
Mind you, I trust this guy. And I told him, forgive my PTSD. I just have to know this stuff. And he laughed because he knew exactly who I was talking about. And I did get all the information. It turns out it's a university thing. It's for MBA students.
Oh.
Like 300. And it's at this venue that's pretty cool. So it's not children. It's not 800 kids or 1,000 kids or whatever. This is doable. And at this price, I'm still going to come out ahead.
Beautiful.
It's not a loser for me. Now, the other agent would be like this price. It would really be ridiculous. But here, I'm still making a profit. And it's good for me. It's good for the agency. It's good for the client. But I had to ask those questions. I couldn't just say yes or get excited because a gig came my way. No matter how hard it's been for the last year, I still got to ask the questions before I pull the trigger. Otherwise, 100%. I put myself in a compromising position,
100%.
Any of that makes sense?
It totally makes sense.
So yeah, it sounds like a done deal. I'll be doing it. I'm excited about it.
Good for you. It sounds like it's going to be a good event. When is it?
The reason that I'm even bringing it up is because I just done that video on asking questions.
I saw that, but I have not watched it. I'm just being upfront.
Well, it's basically what we just talked about before that with the DJs and the electric slide and all that. It's basically all the video is. But, I'm asking questions too. I mean, you had mentioned earlier, people are intimidated by me because I'm a knowledge guy or whatever. I'm always asking questions because if I assume I know the answer, it's a wedding, or it's just a school, or it's just this, or it's just that. It turns out it's a 6-hour drive, and there's 1,200 kids, and it's $450. I can't do that, or I can, but I'm spending money to do it. It's not good for me. No, it's good for everyone else, but it's not good for me.
No.
So asking questions is so important.
It's hugely important, but I mean, I hate saying this, but doesn't that kind of go without saying a little bit? Like, isn't it kind of understood?
Look, if you think common sense is common, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And, that is not a dig on anybody. But I don't think you really would be because you've been in forums for years. But people will ask the most elementary questions sometimes. Yeah. And you may think to yourself, just like the guy with the electric slide song. Yeah. You may think to yourself, why? Everybody should know that. But you know what?
They don't.
I don't think that's the attitude to have.
I don't assume they all know it. And what I love on forums, because you're right, I'm actively a moderator on a forum for a major electronics DJ company and have been since 2003.
Yeah, a long time.
And it never fails to amaze me when I get an issue of nothing is playing. I can't hear anything, but the lights are all lighting up. Can you send me a photo? Sure.
Fader's not up. Crossfader's the wrong
No,
side.
no. Faders are up.
Okay.
Crossfaders set dead center.
Main's not up.
Trims are at 0.
No. Right. No pre-fadeless.
When I move the fader this way, I can't hear the other deck. Can you send me a photo? You have decks 1 and 2 set for B and A. So when you go to the right, it's playing deck 1. When you go to the left, it's playing deck 2. And I'm going to say this in the only way and the nicest way I can. You know, your common sense remark is noted and taken. There is a difference today because of this and the lack of what I call real world knowledge. Like, here's an amplifier, here's some cables, here's a mixer, here are some turntables or CD players, go hook it up. Now it's, I have a controller and I have one USB cable, and it's all software. Really, a controller is nothing more than a plastic box that does functionality within a software program on your computer. Once that computer's gone, you're playing with a plastic box. And because of that, nobody has that intuitive sense of, I should know how it all works. I love talking to 23, 24, 26-year-old DJs and giving them the old, you ever plugged your headphones into the microphone jack? What? Yeah. You know, with a combo jack where you can plug a 1/4 inch in an emergency. It's like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, we used to do it in the 90s because a lot of the microphone jacks were still 1/4 inch. They weren't XLR yet. You know, and there's those little tricks of the trade that you only learn with time and experience. I remember, because I didn't come up on turntables, I remember asking way back, I was the director of entertainment for a yacht company, and we had a turntablist come on board one night, which is always a mistake because the boat's moved.
The boat's rocking, yeah.
But it worked out for this guy. He was in the middle deck. He brought mats and everything else. And a couple times I noticed he kept grabbing the spindle. And I said to somebody, hey man, why is he doing that? They're like, oh, he's just, upping the speed or slowing it down.
Slowing it down or something, yeah.
Yeah, but why isn't he grabbing the side? Well, you can do that too, but what he's doing is he's doing it a little quicker, and this is a technique, and it's sort of like, and you'll know what I'm doing. And if you're under probably 40 or 35, you won't know what I'm doing. If these are my EQs and I'm doing this, what I'm doing is a high pass, low pass filter, because you grab the low and the high and you just turn them. And I remember watching DJs as I came up do that and get what we now push a button that says filter and take one knob and go, ooh, ooh. Yeah. That was intuitive of the day, by grabbing the tones. It's like you get that wah effect if you take a high-low really fast. And, I think it's too bad now for DJs. I don't agree with people that say, yeah, you're not a DJ till somebody gives you a 1200. What are you going to do? Yeah, that's cool. But I know guys that have been in Serato so long, they don't want to go back to it either.
Well, a lot of that's a confidence thing. And there are a lot of older DJs out there who, quite frankly, are threatened. And it's just the circle of life, I guess. And they're hanging on to what they know. And yeah, but it's one of those things where I'm thinking about, what do I do in my life that I enjoy doing and I really want to be a part of, but I don't feel like I am even, I guess, competent in everything that I want to do with it yet. I can kind of do stuff, but I'm not DJing, I feel like I'm fine. And that doesn't mean that I never ask questions, because I'm always asking questions. I'm always learning something.
Right.
But the thing that I really am interested in and I'm actively doing is the car. And
Yeah.
one thing the car has on it that I struggle with is the carburetor. Everything's fuel injection today.
Right.
And most,
You have to adjust the carb. That's not easy if you don't.
well, it's not rocket science, but it's just kind of almost become a black art. It's something that everybody used to be able to do, but now it's more of a black art. I've got questions.
How many mechanics today that you can go find? And again, I keep using the age differentiation because there is a gap. How many newish mechanics can you go to somewhere who may not know how to adjust a carburetor? I mean, that's an art form. I've seen guys break a carburetor down, and I'm watching them do it with absolute intrigue. Like, my God, how many O-rings are in there? Oh, we got to do this.
Springs and needles.
The jet. You know, this is how you adjust the jet. And you sit there. I got a guy down my street. It's got a 69 GTO. The other day, I walked by with the dog going down the street, and I hear and it's obvious. The hood's up. It's in the garage. Doors open, and he's adjusting it. By the time we got back, it's and I'm like, oh, he's adjusting the jets on the carburetor because it's an old carbureted engine. I doubt he's got fuel injection on it. I mean, the way it smells and sounds, it's carbureted.
It's either that or he's doing timing, one or the other.
It could be. But to me, in my head, I went back to what I considered a romantic time of cars with bigger tires in the back than the front because they were rear-wheel drive. It's a GTO, and I look at the dog and I go, Bailey, that's a goat. And I'm trying to explain, like, to a dog what a goat is because it's a G. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, and if it's a Judge, it could be a 454. You know, I think what's weird for us now, Brian, is the people that we're talking about. They want to go back in time. They want the old days. They want vinyl. They want old music. They want old cars. They want old, outcomes. I mean, it was, I showed my son the other day a photo from a shoot that was called like Cruising Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah.
Early 70s.
Sure.
And it's all black and white, and it's the two twin blondes with the perfect little cute body and the short white shorts. And they're leaning on an old Mustang and the guy's sitting on the hood, like in his shirt and just looking around. And off to the side, you see a photo at a restaurant, a sign that's like, hamburger, fries, Coke, 99 cents.
Right.
And you're thinking like, you had to work for that 99 cents. It's not like today where you go, hey, Dad, you got $10? Yeah. Like, right. No, they didn't have $10. But that's it. I think there's a romance to the times of knowing what you were doing. This will shock you maybe. I would love to go hang out for a day or two with a blacksmith because I don't know anything else where someone takes something that's nothing at all and turns it into art. Like, yeah, you could say, well, Jay, brush, paint, canvas. But when I see things on blacksmiths that make a knife or make anything, they're like forging metal in fire and hitting it and forming something. And at the end of the day, they've got this thing they can give you. I think
they're intuitive. I mean, and that's...
Well, but I think DJs are like that a lot too. Like, I show up at an event, it's a blank canvas.
The point
I tell clients all the time, my goal is at the end of the night to have people look back on it. And if you want to look at just the music, I did a painting of two people joining hands and hearts as one. And at the end of it, leaving as husband and wife. And they look at me like, that's really deep. And I'm like, but that's what I do. I'm a DJ.
Well, the point I was trying to make earlier was, I'm interested in the hot rod culture. I'm interested in doing this. I don't need to know everything about it. I don't need to be a mechanic, but I'm interested. Right. And maybe
Brian, please don't sell yourself short. You know a ton about being a mechanic.
Well, maybe there are a lot of DJs out there who are kind of in the same boat. They don't need to be, the master of this. They just need to know enough to get by, and they have questions. Ask them. That's all I wanted to kind of do in this first half hour is stress how important it is and how much I respect anybody who has a question and comes to me or
There's
anyone
no bad question.
Find out the answers. Don't assume you know. Don't guess.
There's no bad questions. There really isn't.
Your way through it. You're not helping anybody, especially yourself.
I've never made fun of anyone. I've never turned anyone away. I've been slow to answer. I admit that, but never once has someone come to me with a concern or a thought or a question on Facebook, message, text, whatever, where I didn't give them a genuine, like, let me do my best to get you that answer, or it's this definitively. I think we're always learning. It's a learning process. And even when you master a piece of gear and you say, I know everything about this gear, great. Then go on to the next piece. Maybe the next piece is musically, what can I do to update where I am? What can I do to, and that's why we've had this discussion about the difference between a DJ and people that entertain at events.
Right.
I think of DJs as being the deep dive. You want to find out who's the real DJ? Take them to a record store. And no. Even if they don't do vinyl. And my point is, see if they get excited about being around that much music.
Yeah.
Because if they're not excited, I hate to tell you, kids, you're not a fucking DJ. You're someone that plays music at events. Now, sorry. I'm sorry. And it's not vinyl only. CDs, cassettes, I don't care what the medium is. If you're not excited to be around music, my opinion only, you're not at the level of DJ that I think DJs are. Because to me, as I've said before, you can't, if somebody, if I stopped DJing tomorrow, the next day, and somebody said, what do you do? What are you? I'm a DJ. Because you can't retire from who you are. You retire from things you do.
Well, I think we've burnt up the first half hour on this, and I think
it's my take on it, Brian.
Made our point. So I'm going to turn this over to Jay and let him run the second half of this.
Oh, yeah.
Jay has a topic he'd like to talk about involving outdoor events and lighting. Take it away, swinging man from Temecula.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's lighting. Lighting is a new issue, and it's a new issue for a number of reasons for me. One, as I will show on the beautiful YouTube channel shortly, I have now switched my sound equipment, and I did an event on Saturday with the Evolve 50 series speakers.
What are your thoughts?
I was amazed. Full disclosure, I called Mr. Red and I set my speakers up the exact same way he sets his speakers up.
And you like my settings?
A lasting loud later in the night. And I looked down at the board and I was at 1 yellow up from 0 dB on the channel. And on the master out, I was at 3 green lights and I thought it was damn loud. And it sounded clean, clear. It was amazing. It really, really was. I could not have been happier with it. The compliments throughout the night, whoa. Father of the bride, the venue owner, the bartenders who have worked with me probably 25 times. Dude, what are those? Oh, just got new speakers. These are the EV Evolve 50s. Wow. And I did a quick sound check early with a couple of songs. And let me tell you, the bass out of those speakers is shocking.
Well, a lot of people will ask about the bass, and I typically downplay it because I never know what their expectations are.
This
I would rather
amazing.
Under promise and over deliver on that.
Yeah, no, these were bumping. I had about 112 people, and I was outside. And at the end of the night, in my head voice, I said, inside, wedding, 200. Can I do it with just these? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Easy. Now, I was using JBL PRX 615s for the last 11 years, 2 15-inch tops, and they are still great. They are in the garage. They look perfect. They've been in bags since the very first time they get out of the box. And I have zero complaints with those speakers. They never let me down. They always kicked ass. They always sounded great. These sounded more like I had a combination of tops and bottoms than the PRX did.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
You won't go
the
back to
PRX sounded really good, and they sounded more on the bass side than the higher side. The Evolves I found sounded equal.
They're well rounded.
Mid, low.
Very well rounded. I'm
Super
glad you
well
like them.
I love them. I love them. I even was in the house. Michelle was here, my wife, and had hooked them up to test them because I didn't want to bring them cold to the gig. Hooked them up and grabbed the phone and said, "Oh, let me try the Bluetooth." And I watched a Mr. Brian S. Red video, and I learned if you don't take pairing option off, they'll keep trying to pair.
Right. Or just will.
Remember, kids, watch videos, and you're always learning to get better.
Ask
So
me
I
how
did.
I know.
But I was busting out like old Dire Straits and Deadmau5, and they both sounded amazing. Really deep and rich. And again, I'm going to be blunt. I haven't touched a thing. I set them the way you do, and you set them pretty much all flat across the board, except for mids. But if I looked at them and I said, oh my God, if I were to turn these up, and I'm not going to lie, I'll do an event where I reach over and go like, yeah, I know Brian does this, but I'm just curious, what happens if I go like this?
DVD.
And it's going to be mind-blowing. No, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I am so, so glad. And Mike Doucette is one of the nicest guys I've met over my 20 years in the industry. I was fortunate enough to work with him a few years ago in Arizona. And I said, I'd never heard the speakers pushed. Never been to an event where they had EVs pushed. Mobile beat doesn't count to me because you're in a room full of DJs talking.
Space. Yeah.
Yeah. We were in what would be a ballroom style foyer front lobby, and they had 4 white stacks. Unreal. And now I have the black, and I'm going to say this to everyone, oddly enough. I got the black over the white because I felt the white would get dirty too quick. But looking at photos online of the white, there's a little bit of me that thinks, I should have gotten the white because they do look impressive. They do. But the benefit of the black is if I have to run multiple systems, now I've got black stands, black tops, and I think if you want to make a wedding statement, get white. Get white. If you want to make a sound statement, white or black.
Let me ask you a question. I'm just going to break in here where I can. I'm going to honk my horn, get my
When I'm taking a sip is a good time because I'm rarely speaking when I sip.
Did you toe?
Gotta be honest. Oh, go ahead.
Did you toe the speakers out at all?
Did I what? I did. No. That's funny you say that. I turned them out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how far to turn them out though, because again, it's the first time I used them.
You need 10 degrees and that's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, good. Because I literally turned them like that much.
15. No, 15. I'm trying to think of how this works. They're
120 degrees spread, and then by 40.
So each side is going to be, help me with math here. Each
So if you go to 10 degrees,
going to come back. Each side's going to come back 15 degrees, right?
Yeah.
It goes 90 degrees. So if you only tilt them out 15 degrees, you're flat in front. So all you need is a 15-degree tilt.
Yeah. I started them flat, and then I'm like, oh, damn, Brian's video says turn them out a little bit.
Well, you got to try that for yourself. You turn them up, that's going to hit you right in the head.
Right. Well, and I will say this. Here's the other thing. And I don't know if it's a DSP thing, if it's the way they're set up. But I did sound check. And, normally when you're near your system, your speakers are right next to you or a little in front. Even though I envy the DJs I see all the time that have all their speakers behind them, I'm like, how are they on the microphone? So for me, I'm always, roughly half to a foot behind. So I get on the mic, no problem. Well, I got on my new wireless. Shout out to Ben Stowe. Do you know who Ben is? He's this guy, NLFX Pro or something. Picked up 2 Audio Tech 3000 units. So I'm doing a check on those and a check on my new SM58. And I walked in front. And before I reached over to turn them down, I noticed a lack of something called feedback.
Yeah.
Have you found them to not really feed back?
This
Is it a
full
design
range-
thing
The
or
full range array is just a completely different animal than what you're used to.
like nothing? I'm standing like 2 feet in front and I realize, oh my God, wait, it's not feeding back.
Now you can get feedback; it's possible, but
Oh, I think you have to go like that though.
you can get it, and I've
I
gotten
didn't.
it, but I've tried to get it. You have to kind of you got to try to get it, I guess. It's
Yeah.
just a different animal with the
I think you got to
dispersion,
work at it.
just it's not as much of an issue as it used to be.
No, they were amazing. I'm super, super excited about them. Really looking forward. I've got two events this coming weekend. 100 outside, and then 60, I think, inside, if I read everything correct from the bride. Quick side note, my event Saturday was a wedding back in 2020. In August, I got hired in June. In July, the bride said, it's not going the way we want. We're going to push the date to May 1st, 2021. Totally understand. So now here we are coming up May 1st. Not only is the bride and groom to be now married, as they did last August in Vegas, but this is a baby shower because the bride's going to give birth in June. So when I met with them in late February, early March, she was obviously, and I knew because I'm friends with her on Facebook and stuff, she's obviously pregnant. Meet the fiance, meet the mom. We sit down at a table outside of a Dunkin' Donuts. And she goes, so, have you done a baby shower? I'm like, no. But I'm willing to learn. So I went online and looked up a bunch of stuff, and we're going to have a great day. We're doing a baby bottle drinking contest for the guys, and the girls are going to do whatever the paperwork says they're going to do.
Whatever the thing printed says I'm doing.
Yeah, we went from a 5 to 10 wedding extravaganza for 175, and we're now at 60 people, 11 to 3 during the day at a golf course for a baby shower.
Sweet. That sounds fun.
It's going to be a good time. I'm actually genuinely looking forward to it. And it'll be inside, so no lighting. And the point I made earlier with you about lighting is I do not have, and as we record this now, what I'm really looking forward to is the release time, the comments. Because here's the challenge, Brian. I now realize the majority of my events are in a place where I have nothing behind me.
Right.
I can't put a T-bar behind me. I now have the Evolves, and for the last 20 years, I've been putting O-clamps on my speaker stands.
But you can no longer.
With a laser, or a Jelly, or a Topaz, or a Chave FX2, and now I don't have that.
Right.
So now the new reality is, how do I do the lighting I want outside without blinding people and make it look good without having to buy 2 light stands to put up behind the speakers?
Right.
What are your thoughts out of the gate? I'm asking you first.
Okay.
The guru of all that is DJ and lighting.
I feel I am short right now. So, okay, something like a laser. Well, I know what laser you have, so let's not talk about that. Let's talk about let's talk about something like a Galaxian, kind of an effect laser deal,
But really, again, we're talking outside, no walls, no ceiling.
Right. So, okay, moving heads. Let's talk moving heads, and let's talk like effect lasers and things. Those are something that I would consider, for the most part, an aerial effect. Now, an aerial effect is something that you see going through the air. Now, the only way you're going to see something going through the air is with atmosphere.
Right.
The only way you're going to have atmosphere is with something like fog and haze, which you cannot control in outdoor environments.
Right.
So those things are kind of useless for you in outdoor events, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess you could shoot a gobo on a tree or something, but I don't know what that's doing for your dance floor.
Yeah.
I think the best thing you can do are easy projection wash effects, like your typical uplight. If you can make it do something other than randomly just, make a mess, a
Right.
slow fade, anything, even if you have to master slave everything together, I think that's a really good look outdoors. You got to use stuff like trees. I saw a picture that somebody had posted of a beautiful, I thought it was beautiful, and I think it might have been in Hawaii, a beach ceremony. And I saw this, I thought, this is gorgeous. The only thing that was bugging me a lot was the Chauvet gig bar sticking out of the back. It ruined it. It was blocking the view of the ocean to me. It was like having an old school 1950s Talking Heads and She Was music video TV antenna in the way of your ocean view.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. Or an old school satellite dish or something. I don't know that really enhanced the experience, the atmosphere too much. You could have eliminated that. You can do like really cool stuff, like the old school glow totems. Those are neat. You bring it along. You just get a totem. You have to put anything on top of it. Just put a scrim on it or whatever. Light the inside up, and boom, you've got something to look at when you're on the dance floor. You see something that's making flashy, fady colors. That's exciting.
Right.
You can do your table or your booth. That you can do. You can always do your table or your booth. You can put lighting underneath it.
You can. And I'm looking at that. They have a custom, it's 2 wine barrels that are in like kind of wrought iron with a tabletop.
Oh.
And they want you to use that. So you use that. And again, the issue becomes there's no space behind you to do the thing. And I'll be honest, I proudly say I've purchased many Chauvet lights in my day. The gig bar to me is just too easy of a fix sometimes. Because what I'm doing is I'm not only looking at what I have, but I'm looking at other DJs' videos, and I'm like, you're outside, you see the sky, some stars. I'm cool with my 2 wash effects, 2s, because they light up everything. But I know they're so bright, I need them to go up. So on speaker stands, I always pointed them up. So the tool that went over the dance floor area got lit up and it looked fine because enough bled down. But when I see dots on people, for some reason outside, I just think it detracts. Now, I used the Revo 3 for years and still love it. And I thought it looked amazing because of what it did inside places with people, floor, and ceiling.
Now, something like the... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, outside, it's like, I just want to wash the crowd with light without blinding them. But I want it to be symmetric.
Well, I think you could...
That's the issue.
Even those coin tubes I showed you a couple of weeks ago from Ape, where you put a little coin in it, and it's the Lycra tube. That's cool. That's cool...
No, they're super cool. I'm trying to open my eyes to everything that I didn't... But Brian, I don't know about you, but you might be a little different in that you do more review videos or you're more involved in it. But with everything that's happened in the last year, I'm honestly really out of the realm of what's new in lighting.
Well,
I don't know what's available to me in the way of a purchase of how do I get this effect? I'll give you an example. A company that you know well because they're nearby you. Do you remember the system called the weather system?
Yeah.
That's a system that on its own is amazing. And it would work perfect for what I want. The problem is, where am I going to put it?
The fundamental issue, as far as I'm concerned, isn't the lighting. It's how DJs are thinking about the lighting. That's always been the issue.
Okay.
Always. The light itself is an innocent bystander. How the DJ uses it has always been the problem.
Can you give some examples?
Well, remember when I stuck that stupid like moonflower against the wall and it made the fan pattern and you thought that was like science fiction?
It was amazing. Yeah, looked
That's
great.
how you use a light.
Well, and I said to you earlier about, do we go now with outside? Do we go in our garage and go, I got a sparkler, I got a Vertigo, a Chucky, a Scotty, and a Mini Gem. And do we show up at events and find 5 trees nearby, put them pointed up at the tree, and then when dancing starts, hit go?
You can absolutely do
everything
that.
Everything around you looks like it's part of the show.
I believe this. This is my philosophy, and no one has to share it with me. Everyone can have a different take on this. I don't care.
Sure.
But I've been talking about this for a couple of years now, and I am committed to this. I'm still committed to this. I don't see a better way than the way that I'm thinking about right now for me, which is look no further than LED par fixtures. That's all you need now. Moving heads were fascinating when we first got them. Absolutely fascinating. But it's been done. And I have to ask myself the honest question, which is, no matter how cool I think they are, does anyone else at the venue even care? What do they want? They want a weirdo atmosphere on the dance floor that kind of takes them out of reality a little bit. That's what they need. And it helps if there's lighting that keeps the rhythm and kind of helps them out with their dance moves. They can kind of follow the light for the beat. Even people who are hearing impaired can look at that. And they can still kind of find it. They can feel the bass. I mean, that's a cool thing. But the whole point of lighting, you know, it's like anything else, Jay. Speakers. Well, how many people are going to be at the event? You don't bring, you know, giant function one speakers, you know, to a 50-person wedding reception. You don't do that. You bring small stuff. You don't bring this blinding light show to a wedding reception, especially a wedding reception, and anything like the weather station or the gig bar, anything on a stick that shining at your audience, I think is a bad thing. DJs are putting on light shows for themselves. It looks fantastic from the DJ's point of view, but guess what? The DJ is one person. What's it look like to the rest of the audience? Guaranteed, not as good as it does to the DJ. Not even close. You're blinding people with your lights when you do that.
Well, and we've had this talk about if you walk out front, and I did this, I remember like it was yesterday, and it was probably, I wasn't on an iPhone yet. It would have been 2009. Yeah, 2009. I met you in 08, and you did a video on, does it look like there's a train coming, or are you in a tunnel? Yeah. You did some video. And I said,
truck lighting.
Oh. Yeah. I said, oh, he's not talking about me. And I took a photo, and it was my table, and I had the Revo 3 on the floor pointed up. And I was, kids, those of you that don't know what cool is, like you think the Fonzie is cool. Is that too old of a reference for our audience?
It can't be cool.
Oh, okay. This was the cool thing. I would take my Steve Jones, love you wherever you are now, table skirt, and underneath it in the front put my Revo 3 so you couldn't see it. And then as the night progressed and dinner started to end, I would lift it and push the Revo 3 out at an angle up. And once dancing started, you know, because I'm again like 10 feet from the floor, so it spread, like it looked amazing, like fireworks were going off. It was great. But when I stood in front of it and looked at it, I was like, wow, it looks like a train is coming at me.
Just blinding.
It is.
And we had this coming.
Well, you know, the other night example, I put the lights on, and the owner of the venue loved the speakers, loved the mics, hated the lights. She's like, I don't like these lights. I'm like, these are the lights I've used at every, no, these aren't the same lights. I'm like, Well, they are. The difference is they were sitting in front, pointed up. She goes, well, they're blinding. And they're the Chauvet, I think they're called the Wash Effects 2s. And they're very bright. And I think they're a great light because they're a great wash light. But the challenge now is, how do I utilize those with my set? Because honestly, what I love, and I've told this story, I don't think on this show, years and years ago, I did an event at a hotel where I was a resident DJ. And one of the staffs had to help me get stuff in because I couldn't park there. There was some weird thing. So when I came upstairs, I'd already set up my gear, but I hadn't set up my speakers. And I said to him, like, hey, you know, where are the speakers? Oh, I put them under the table. And they wired them. They were a DJ, so they wired everything up. And guests are coming in. I've got a table with a white skirt around it. And I hit play, and I realized it sounds really good. And I decided I wouldn't move the speakers. I probably had 10 people all night come up to me and go like, hey man, it sounds amazing. Like, we're having a great time. Where are your speakers? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, where are they? It sounds awesome, but like, what are you using? Like, are these Bose? Are these, what are they? Are they in the ceiling? I'm like, no, it's just two 15-inch DAS, like DA15R, whatever, speakers under the table. Dude, it sounds amazing. And I realized something. It sounded so amazing to everybody because they couldn't see them. You know, and we've had this talk. If you walk in a room and they're using speakers that are small and hidden, it sounds great, but your brain gets into this mode of like, I need to see what I'm hearing. I think lighting is the same way. If you see a gig bar or a 4-Parcan bar or whatever, your brain recognizes that's where the lights come from. But the fun of this job is to give them lighting without them really knowing what it is. Like, I had these, you know, 2 little things on speaker stands, but the entire, like, go to my Instagram, the entire ceiling lit up. It looked amazing. You know, the old Topaz that had the Dicron dish that was like broken that would spin and it looked like a waterfall of color. I used to put them on the table in front of my rig, back to back, like wire to wire, so they would shoot this way. The entire ceiling looked like a rainbow that kept moving. People like, and that was my lighting show for probably a year or 2.
Sure.
And everyone all would compliment, like, man, I didn't get blinded. Because let's all agree, nobody, grandma and nobody else wants a spotlight in their eye.
Well, here, think of it this way, Jay. Think of it. This is the easiest way to think of it. And I didn't even talk about this in the video. I talked about the hit by a truck lighting, and everybody's like, huh? Think about if you're driving down the road in a cool car and you've got the cool Fast and Furious headlights in the car. You can see everything, right? And then when you turn on your brights, you can see even better. So when you're in the car and you're driving, the lighting is great. It's doing exactly what you want it to do. It looks fantastic. It's lighting up the area around you. You're seeing everything. If an animal were to dart out from, you know, the side of the road, you would see it in more than enough time to brake. Now think of you looking at this light in oncoming traffic. That's the difference. That's what the gig bar up here is. It looks great for the DJ, but the experience the audience is getting is basically you in oncoming traffic. And unfortunately, a lot of people, for some reason, cannot reason this out in their heads because the companies are pushing this stuff because they're asking for it. It is very simple. Right. And if you use it the right way, you know, kind of to the side or whatever, responsibly, it could be a very great tool. Like I said, the light's innocent.
That talk. What if you had 2 big bars?
The light is not doing anything wrong. It's how it's being used.
Well, and you know what? And let's go down a road we haven't gone down that you and I know from old DJ Expos. There was a company that sold a truss that had lights in it. Okay. I don't know if you remember. It's like 0809, and it was like an 8-foot truss, but it had like a Vertigo and a couple of Parcans and a mini gem.
Oh, you know what? I vaguely do remember that.
Yeah, they were wired in the
all
truss.
In one thing. Yeah,
all in one, exactly. Like an 8-foot truss, whatever.
Right,
And you
yeah.
would put it in the corner of the room.
Right.
And the whole point of it was to make lighting easy. Like you would put this in your van,
Right.
show up, it was already plugged in,
Right.
everything's already set, and at the bottom was like an IEC, and you were done.
There's a pre-wired stick of truss or pre-wired
Right.
toner or
And
whatever,
CSL, our friend Jim at CSL used to have a box that looked like an old CD case that you take the cover off.
Oh,
and
he
it would
still
have
has
like,
those. Yeah.
oh, he does. Okay.
It's got a battery powered now. Yeah.
Back in the 80s. Yeah. Oh, yeah. With him, I'm sure they're battery
Powered remote control and your keychain,
Yeah.
the whole bit.
Exactly. And it was one of those, like, it made it easy, you know? And I kind of miss those days. If you go back, and I'll use Motorhead as the example, go watch Ace of Spades video. And they had par 64 white in front of the drummer, then like white and red over here, and then blue, and like, or Queen. What was the, is All the World or something? The one that had the cover, the live one, that had like their lighting rig, which was just par 64s in like red, green, and white. And that's what we thought because they were lighting up the band. And then all of a sudden, you know, EDM comes into play, and now we got to light up the audience. You know, I mean, how many concerts have you gone to where they'd have those blinders? And those were the 3 times a night that they said, let's light up the audience, or hey, everyone scream yeah. And all of a sudden we got lit up. Now it's funny, as a DJ, your whole job is not to light you up. It's to light them up.
Well, you know, you want to light people, you want to wash the dance floor, but
right, that's what I'm saying. But that's
anybody.
Like,
that's all.
But right, that's the catch-22.
I think you're making it more complicated than it needs to be.
I probably am.
Really,
I want as minimal of a look. What I want is someone to look at my setup and go, "That looks really cool." And then later on, go, "Whoa."
I have a challenge for you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
And I mean this. I want you to do this.
I will take it.
When the sun goes down, go outside with 6 battery-powered LED pars. Or if you don't have battery-powered LED pars, just go outside and have the ability to plug in 6 LED pars in your yard, in your driveway, wherever you have to do it. It's an outdoor situation. Look around and see what's architectural that you can light up and light it up. If you're lacking something architectural to light up, find something and light it up. It could be as simple as a scrimmed tripod, but try it and limit yourself to just LED pars. See what you can do with just LED pars. Take all the other tools out of your toolbox, your sprinklers and your Revos and your lasers and everything else. Just use LED and see what you can make happen with those pars. I think that if you force yourself to do it, you're going to be very impressed with your light scheme. And then walk around the area. Kind of think about, okay, I'm going to be here, and my audience is here. I'm going to design the show around that. Then go out and look around. See what you think.
Well, it's funny because I have, I think one battery's dead. So I'm going to say I have 19 battery-operated par cans.
Just use 6. Just take 6 outside and see what you can do with 6.
Right.
Fun as an exercise.
Well, and that's this is where I need to speak with our producer, because having them is one thing. Being able to make them do something, I think, is the other option.
And that's probably another show.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah, but this.
I would be happy to help you with that.
I was going to say, Howie has been nothing but gracious, courteous, professional, and generous about his options to discuss how can I take just a light and make it a light show. And I think that would be a great topic one night, how to take lights and make it. And by the way, I still want to take my Chauvet Wash Effects 2s, and my thought is put them behind my Evolve 50s and just let them go.
Silhouette them?
Yeah, literally match them, let them go, and just when dancing starts, they go on. Whether they point up behind the speaker or almost flat straight, where there's just light shooting. Because again, part of me is now, with being outside, I have to consider, what do I look like on lights and what do they look like? Because what I look like should be different. When I used to do the gig at Park Manor,
I don't think you did.
I had a big 12-foot high speaker stand with a T-bar, and I had 4 lights on it, of which 3 lights went out at the ceiling at the audience. So either on the audience or on the ceiling, but 1 light always shot down on me, and it was a topaz.
Yeah.
So that from the audience view, I was lit up the whole time as well, because I thought
Right.
that's important.
The only thing that I'll say about that, we need to wrap the show here in a minute, but the only thing I'll say about that is I think the days of making us stand out might be over.
Well, this was a gay New Year's Eve party with 700 people.
If you're the center of attention,
I felt I should be a little lit up. I'm not feeling that way now at a wedding. I'm genuinely not. But I will say there was a point where I had 2 par cans pointed in at my rig so I could see, because I'm old. And I did find people enjoyed that. Like, I love this lighting setup. I'm like, it's 2 par cans. No, I love this. Really?
You know, it would be really interesting if we knew what 6 pars that you had that worked were. Just 6. I think 6 is a cool number to start with.
Okay.
And then tell us what they are. And then between maybe Howie and Jimmy and myself, we could do some graphics to maybe give you some ideas of how to design light schemes, indoors and outdoors.
Well, you know, and you and I can talk off show about the venue and the logistics, but I've definitely thought of, do I turn to the natural resource of having 6 posts in the ground that are holding up a roof with a beige tool that goes over it? Because up until now, I've just lit that up with the wash effects.
That'd be cool. Well, that, you know, if you shine something on there, it's going to bounce off and hit your dance floor anyway.
Right. That's what I've always done. But again, Brian, I've done it off 2 speaker stands, and I don't want to run 2.
You're going to get more punch doing it on the floor. And we'll talk about this on the next show. That'd be a good topic.
Okay, cool.
So let's wrap this one, and we'll talk about it on camera, and we'll put something together really cool next week. Do you have any pictures of your venue?
Yeah. I can
Okay, we'll have those ready, and we're going to do something really cool this week and do an interesting show next week. So stay tuned for that. On helping Jay out with a simple, easy, effective light show.
Right, but it's not just me. I think DJs are now going to have to live a new reality. We're all outside, and the videos I'm seeing of dots aren't working for me.
Right, I'm just saying we're going to work with what you have. We're not going to have to go out and buy anything. We're going to work with what you have and see what we can do.
Sounds good.
Fun. That's fun.
Sounds good.
But anyway, all right, kids. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, everybody. Peace. Stay well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. We will see you next time.
Yep.
And good night.
Same bat channel, same
daddy producer.
See? There you go.